Thanks, everyone. So this is great. Thanks for having us all out here. For those of you who don't know me, and there's probably a lot of you, I started off as a software engineer in 1993. Did that for 10 years. Made a lot of mistakes. In fact, in 1997, I had a job interview, and this manager sat me down in his office, and he said, "Tell me about your biggest disaster." And I said, "You know, there've been so many." And he laughed, and he said, "Okay, you're hired." And I got the job. Anyway, I worked in tech until about 2002, 2003. Got really burned out working at Booz Allen Hamilton, and quit. And I quit, and I decided to become a cook. So I went to culinary school in New York, and I wound up as a chef, traveling all over, cooking in great restaurants. Moved to Toronto from the States. Did a lot of catering here. In fact, I know Joe, one of the hosts, who came to one of my dinners years ago, and I did that for 10 years, and I made a ton of mistakes. And I'm going to talk about one of those tonight. And then it's such a bad mistake that I got tired of that industry, and I went back into tech. And so now I work for a company called Normative. They're a design firm in Kensington that probably a lot of people have heard of, and I'm running engineering for their product incubator. So that was quick intro about me. Talk about the thing that I did, and I want to talk about it in the restaurant business as opposed to the tech industry. Not everybody's in technology. Restaurants are very relatable. Everybody goes out to eat. Most everybody cooks, and it's basically the restaurant business is a big shit show. So there's just so much to learn from working there. So in 2013, I opened a restaurant with a friend of mine in Leslieville called Barrow, and Barrow got all kinds of crazy stars and was very all kinds of praise and high accolades. And the reason that it got that was because I put together a very good, solid team of people. And that team was exceptional at executing and delivering on what was a really spectacular experience. Unfortunately, the team was run by a megalomaniac, a prima donna who had temper tantrums and hated the ownership with a passion. And he would lose his mind, and he would punch things. And I spent 11 months trying to keep everybody calm and keep the machine running. And it was stressful. It was crazy. And this guy was like 6'4", and he was big, and his hands were the size of my head. And he would punch the counter, and I'd be like, "Please stop," right? And then I could calm him down with weird jokes that made him uncomfortable, and we'd go back to work. But over the 11 months, things really just built up, and the owner and he just got worse and worse, and the owner didn't really know what he was doing, and this guy was really smart. So it was, from my perspective, I'm like, "Well, Chris, you're right, but you don't own the place." And so as opposed to really trying to settle it, or what I should have done maybe was fire him because he's not the owner and he's not doing what the owner wants, I just kind of tried to keep it going. And eventually what happened is the whole thing blew up. The team walked out on the owner. I got locked out. The front of the house staff quit, and the whole thing fell apart. And that was the end of me being in the restaurant business. And so, which is fine. I've got a kid. I get to see my kid now at 5 o'clock. But it wasn't necessarily just that I broke the no asshole rule, which is pretty self-explanatory, right? You don't want assholes working for you no matter how good they are. But I think there's a balance to be found between doing the effective thing and doing the right thing. And when you start a company, and I've started a few, you're really more in effective mode. But at some point, you kind of have to switch to the right mode, and that's part of growth. And if you don't recognize that, or if you get hooked on 4-star reviews like I did, you sometimes can become a little bit myopic to those sorts of things, and then bad stuff happens, and then everything blows up. Uber's probably another example of those sorts of things. Not that I'm comparing myself to Travis, but if you want to, you can feel free to do that. So anyway, that was sort of, I've had so many disasters that I couldn't really think of a good one. I wanted to talk about 3, but I only had 5 minutes. So this one seemed to be kind of fun and entertaining, and I would say that for me was a big turning point in sort of learning how to sort of grow a company a little bit more effectively and not just try and run something at 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's it. Thanks. And apparently we're taking questions.
Again, a couple minutes for questions.
When did you see the end coming?
When there was a lock on the door.
Oh, that was that.
Well, actually, it was 2 days before that when I was fighting with the owner about the fact that the chef didn't get his bonus. He missed it by 30 cents, and the owner was eating for free and changing the food costs and that sort of stuff. So I was really trying to I went in and I hacked the POS system and exported everything into Excel and ran numbers, and I said, you guys had dinner on Thursday and it was like $100 and you didn't take it out. It's like $30 in food cost and you didn't take it out. And he was like, the numbers are the numbers and he's not getting his bonus. And then, Chris was like, well, fuck this, I'm out of here. And he packed up all his stuff, and then the staff was said, well, we're not working without Chris, so we're leaving too, right? So, and then the front of the house staff was like, well, the food's not gonna be good if your team's not here. Like, you're gonna put a new team together? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, we're out of here. So, yeah, it was not a great ending to what maybe wasn't necessarily going to be, had it been different, it may not have been as good, but it may have been a longer lasting process and an actual business as opposed to more of a toy, which I think is, that's sort of like, it's a toy in the beginning, and then you got to go, hey, we got to make money. We got to actually operate this thing like a machine, not like, a nursery school, which is what it was. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Time for one more, right? Yep. Any other questions? Recipe for clam chowder. I can do that. No? All right, I'm going to give the mic up then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.